Welcome back, guys. It's me, John Guetta, and today I'm here with Ernie Zuniga. So, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I mean, I'm inside in the AC, so I can't complain. How are you, sir? Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Of course, of course. I know it's been supposed to be happening like 2 years ago, I believe, that I reached out to you at first.
Yeah, and I think it's probably safe to say that the course of this interview would have been a lot different 2 years ago when we first connected than what it's probably going to be today. But life happens, and scheduling can be a little crazy sometimes. But I told you we were going to make it work, so I'm grateful that we're here together today.
Yeah, it's wonderful to finally have you on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, how's everything going right now for your scheduling wise? You're still pretty busy compared to, let's say, a year ago.
Gosh, well, a year ago was a completely different situation. I mean, a year ago, I was, to be candid with you, what was that, June 11th? I was probably in a rough place because I left the TV station May 23rd of last year. And I decided to take about a month off. So actually, the first month was not that bad because I kind of treated that like a vacation, if you will, just kind of decompressing from 18 years just about of waking up at 2:30 in the morning, and my kids had just gotten out of school, so we were just getting into the summer and the summer break and everything. And I was actively trying to find what my next job or what my next chapter was going to be. That turned out to be a little more difficult than I had anticipated, but nonetheless, I'm very blessed where I am today. And my oldest daughter just graduated high school yesterday. And so part of the reason you and I probably couldn't get together earlier was because I had Fiesta obligations for the first 4 months of this year. And as soon as Fiesta was over, I went straight into like high school senior graduating, dad duties. And then just yesterday, she walked the stage. And so now I have a high school graduate here at my house.
Wow, wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
would you say Fiesta's probably your busiest time of the year?
Depending on your level of involvement. See, I was on the Rafael court for Fiesta 2024. And so that was probably more than a year and a half, maybe even closer to 2 years worth of time, investment, doing events. I tell people from February of this year through Fiesta, which was April 28th, we visited 115 schools, right? And then during the 11 days of Fiesta from April 18th through the 28th, we made 83 stops. So just imagine all of that and just the time commitment and everything. It was the time of my life, and I made lifelong friends, and I'm so glad I did it. But it is a tremendous, undertaking. But in Fiesta 2025, next year, I'm not planning to be a part of the Rafael Court, so I will be able to enjoy Fiesta. It'll be a lot more, relaxed, and I'll do things on my own time instead of having to be following the Rafael schedule.
I remember you actually stopped by my school in 2022, I believe, at Thomas Jefferson.
So I was on the court, sure. Yeah, I was on the court for Fiesta of 2022. You're exactly right. And the king at the time, Augie Cortez, who's one of my dear friends, was a graduate of Jefferson. And so I remember that day. It might have been the same morning or it might have been the same week. We went to I believe his elementary school. We went to his middle school, and then we went to Jefferson. And I know that was emotional for him. But we also had at least one or two other court members who were part of that group that year that had gone to Jefferson. So I remember that visit very clearly. And yeah, it was a very emotional morning, but it's hard to believe it's been 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. So I want you to try to walk us through here what was really going through your mind, like your thought process on your last day on Fox. Like, how were you feeling waking up and going through that whole day and knowing like this is it?
Do we have an hour? How long do you have? My goodness. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, wow. It's interesting you say that because the anniversary just came up recently, and it was May 23rd. That was my last day. And so on that day, May 23rd, here just 2 weeks ago or whatever, 2.5 weeks ago, you get the Facebook memories and you get people reaching out and everything. And that was interesting because I started doing TV news in 1992. Like I was in high school. I did it for 30 years, essentially almost nonstop. So that's all I've known. I will tell you, originally, my last day at the TV station at Fox was supposed to be May 24th. But that was the 1 year anniversary of the Uvalde Robb Elementary shooting. I just didn't think it would be right for me to talk about myself and do a send off and a farewell and that kind of thing on that particular day. I felt like that belonged to the families and the people of Uvalde, and I just could not bring myself to leave on that day. So I had talked to the management at the TV station, and we had agreed that I would leave the day before on the 23rd. And so there was no conflict with what was happening in Uvalde. But it was a very bittersweet day because I left that place with no job to go to. It was the ultimate, whatever cliche you want to use, bet on yourself type gamble. And I, at the time, and I still maintain it, I tell people, I use the analogy of like jumping out of an airplane. You're standing there, you're like, 10,000 feet in the air, and you're standing on the door, and you're holding on for dear life to the frame of the door, and you're looking out, and you're like, I don't want to jump, I don't want to jump, I don't want to jump. And finally somebody just like pushes you out, or you jump out. And when you jump out of a plane, you're looking up and you're like, well, I can't go back in the plane anymore, right? So it's like, well, what am I going to do now? And so that's what that was. It was just a flood of emotions. I delivered my farewell at like 8:55 that morning. I signed off at 8:58, and by 8:59, I was in my car and driving away. Like I couldn't. Like it was very emotional. And it was hard to leave, but it was a decision that had to be made, and certainly a decision that I do not regret. And I look back on that time with a lot of great memories and people who just this morning I was talking to some of my colleagues and former coworkers and everything. And so these are people that will be lifelong friends of mine.
Hmm. So this decision, was it like
Mm-hmm.
ever in your head before? Like, do you think, let's say 10 years ago, do you think you would have been
Right.
capable of making this decision of just walking away?
No, 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 absolutely not. No, it would take me literally an hour to explain all of the intricacies that went into it. I will tell you, and I've said this before, this was not a decision that was made in 2023 or probably even 2022. Like it was a thing that it happened over time,
Mhm.
and through talking with my wife and just very close confidants and family members and everything, that you just get to a point where you realize, kind of in your head, what your value is and what you're doing. And then, so there's that component, right? And then there's this other component of, I have projects and passion projects and ideas in my head, things that I've wanted to pursue for many years. Pickup Lines, which is my current show, something I've wanted to pursue for a long time. And I realized I couldn't do it while I was doing the morning news at the same time. Then separate from all of that is just the reality. It's father time. I was 29 years old when I started doing the morning show, and I'm in my late 40s now. Waking up at 2:30 in the morning, and I probably could have taken better care of myself health wise over the years, but it just took a toll, and I didn't realize how tired I was until I got away from it. And it took me probably 3 or 4 days to acclimate to sleeping in. Now, instead of waking up at 2:30, I could get up at 7:30 or 8:30 or whatever. And once I did that, you just realize the quality of life. Being able to take your kids to school in the morning, being able to have breakfast with them, being able to stay up late on a weeknight, those kinds of things that I could never do before. It was amazing. And I just had to figure out how to be able to do all that and still generate income, because I still got to support my family, right?
Mhm.
And bring home a paycheck. And so that is what was a little challenging, but and probably still a work in progress. But it's definitely better now than it was had we talked a year ago at this time.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me that the latest you could do it possibly was like 7:30, and then you said after that you would go to sleep. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. In the past, I would always say, I would shoot to go to bed at 7:30, but I have three teenagers here at home. This time of year in the summer, the sun is out until what, 8:30, maybe even closer to 9. It's very difficult to try to go to sleep at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in summer when you've got kids outside playing, or my kids are wanting to watch TV, or the dog is still barking, or whatever. And I can't get mad at them for wanting to be awake at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday night. I mean, it's summertime, right? So, I mean, we made it work. You get darkening shades, and I slept with two sound machines, and you just get under the covers and you make it work and everything. But yeah, I mean, I certainly enjoy the quality of life right now. And again, now that they're out of school, for the summer, I mean, like I said, I can stay up late tonight. I can sleep in, and I can kind of make my own schedule. And it's really hard to put a price on that.
Yeah. So from the time you left, kind of take us through what built up to pickup lines and you
Yeah,
deciding to start with that.
sure, sure. So some people may not be aware. Pickup Lines, again, that's the show that I do right now, is a show that I created it about 6 years ago in 2018. Now, mind you, it looked very different back then. It was still the same concept. It was me in my car on Facebook Live talking to people in real time. The name of the show came from the fact that because I was never home in the mornings, I could never take my kids to school. My wife always did that. But I was always home in the afternoons, right? So I could always pick them up. From kindergarten through 12th grade, I always picked up my kids from school. But I would get to the parking lot like 45 minutes early because the schools are small. There's no parking, and I wanted to get a good place in line. So when my kids got out, they wouldn't be standing in the sun and this and that. So I'd be sitting there, and I would just be bored out of my mind from day after day after day. So one day, I just pulled out my phone and I put it on my dashboard and put on Facebook Live and just started talking to people. And the audience was much larger than anything I could have ever imagined or dreamed of. Not that I was looking for a big audience anyway, but what I realized quickly was it was what I call a shared experience, that there were hundreds of other moms and dads sitting in their cars at their kids' schools, elementary, middle school, whatever. And they were just sitting there on their phones. And so they could watch what I was doing. And we would all just have a conversation and talk. And it went back and forth. My wife joined me for a little while, and I did the show myself. She joined me. Well, then when I left the TV station last year, I had a buddy of mine in the business reach out to me right away, and he's like, "You have to do something with Pickup Lines. It's a great show. You've got a huge audience. You have to do something with it." So then I figured, well, my wife works now from home, so she couldn't join me, and I knew I didn't want to do the show by myself. So I said, you know what? I'll do it, but I want to bring guests in the car with me. So at first it was, just people that I knew, met from over the years, doing all the interviews I did on the news. And I called it Pickup Lines because I said, you know what, I think this is the only show I know of on earth that originates live from a real pickup line at a real school. Some people, I think, at the beginning thought it was a dating show, like I was trying to pick up women or something. And I was like, no, 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 no. It's not what this is. And so once we got past that, people realize it's about the storytelling. It's about being in the car. Everybody knows what it's like to sit in a car, right? And have a conversation. That's essentially what this is. But now what I do with Pickup Lines is I use that setting, and through storytelling and, show and tell, we do show and tell and stuff like that. You're talking about brands and small businesses and nonprofits and some for profits, but helping in a marketing way to elevate their brands, give them promotion, expose them to my audience. So I have been blessed with, a lot of viewers over the years. And so that's how I've been able to monetize this and support my family.
Yeah, I do keep up with it, and I see the episodes. You push a good amount out for your days.
Thank you.
Uh,
Well, I would do it every day if I could, but as content creation, I mean, it takes time, it takes energy, and I have to schedule it. Like I took my son to a dental appointment this morning. I had another meeting, so you have to make time and, make it all happen. But I absolutely love this show. It's the kind of show that I always wanted to do. I had thought maybe I would do it in a TV studio, but as fate would have it, I do it in a car. And, I'm blessed because North Park Lexus sponsors me. And so they provided me with a brand new Lexus. I mean, how great is that, to have this amazing brand new electric car that I can drive around, and all I have to do is do my show in it. I mean, it's like a dream come true.
it is, it is. So, what has really kept you so in touch with San Antonio, with everyone around it, and you bringing these people on? Like, what is it that
Yeah.
holds you here?
So about 20 years ago, I was doing sports here in San Antonio, and I took a job in Phoenix. And I got hired to be a weekend sports anchor in Phoenix. And so my wife and I left and we moved to Phoenix. Very quickly, we realized that it just was not San Antonio. It was not the same. There's something about this city. It's just, I think it's hard to explain unless you live it or you're here, right? Like, how do you explain Fiesta to somebody who is not from here? How
Okay.
do you explain what Whataburger or breakfast tacos or the Spurs? How do you explain all of that real quickly to somebody who's not from here? There's just something about this place. So we came back, obviously, and we've been here now for coming up on 20 years. Um, I've always just enjoyed, when I was on the news, the viewers and the people were always so kind to me, and they continue to be. That's one of the great things about being involved with Fiesta is it forces me to get out in the community. You go to all these events and you go to schools, you go to businesses and you shake hands and you give Fiesta medals and it's just something about the city and the people, and I've been showered with so much support and love over the years that I feel like the least I can do if I'm going to pursue this dream of doing pickup lines and doing this kind of show, I want to be able to shine the spotlight and use the platform that I have and to help, like I said, elevate brands and help nonprofits and just be a good steward of that, if you will, and can just give back because the city and these people have just given my wife and I and my kids so much over the years. It's the least I can do.
That's great. That's great. So I was just curious. I was wondering about this while you were talking. Like when you were younger, let's say high school, before the
Mm-hmm.
news, were you always like very out there? Where like you would go talk to people, or was there a point in time where you just like, no one
Yes.
get close to me, leave me alone?
No. No. Ask any of the men or women who taught me in middle school or elementary school. I can vividly remember the first time I ever grabbed a microphone. I was 10 years old. It was a Little League baseball game, and I was hooked. That was the first time I ever did any kind of announcing or public speaking in front of a crowd where I heard my voice and everything. And it was immediately just, I fell in love with it. And so I started emceeing pep rallies and school functions in middle school, you know. And then I got involved with my church, where you can be at church and you can be the reader. You read the scriptures out loud on the microphone. And so I was a lector, and so I got involved in that. And then when I got to high school, when I was a sophomore in high school, I had my own show. We had very prim. This is in 1992. Third, almost 32 years ago, or no, almost 30 years ago. And yeah, 32 years ago. And no, I mean, obviously we had no cell phones, we had no internet, or very little internet. I mean, it was primitive. It was like caveman equipment. It was nothing, but we made it work. And I was able to interview people in high school and continue that. And then meanwhile, we had a TV station in my hometown of Victoria, and I was able to intern with them and eventually get a job there. And one thing led to another, and then I got hired to be a sports anchor, and eventually made my way to San Antonio, and the rest is history. But no, I mean, it's like I tell people, I don't do a lot of things very well, but one thing I can do is talk. And my teachers would always say that I was I was a pretty good student, but I talked too much. And I told them, I remember saying this at the time, one day I'm going to find a job where I get paid to talk. And what do you know? I became a TV news anchor. So the
You had
rest is
all of
history.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll close it out real quick with a little game we're gonna play here,
Oh
and what
boy.
it's gonna
Okay.
be is I'm going to name you a type of food, and you're gonna tell
Okay.
me your favorite like kind with it and your least favorite.
My
Okay.
favorite time with it?
Or, like your
Okay.
favorite like type of food, like type of like
Oh, I
it's gonna
see. I
be
see.
like
Okay.
okay. So first one, your favorite breakfast taco,
Oh, bacon, egg, and potato.
and then least favorite.
Well, I don't really like cheese, so I would say, or chorizo. I'm not a big chorizo or cheese guy, so I would say that'd probably be my least favorite.
Okay, so let's go with pizza.
A pepperoni or a meat type pizza for sure, and then least favorite would be a cheese pizza.
Do you believe in pineapple pizza?
I wouldn't knock it. I can't say that I've tried it before. I don't think I can. I cannot recall trying it, but I'm the type of person that's willing to give something a try, and then I can decide whether I never again or I would continue doing it.
Favorite food at Fiesta?
Ooh. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, the chicken on the stick obviously comes to mind, but I tell people you have to have it dipped. Have you ever had a chicken on a stick dipped? Do you know what that is?
I haven't had it dipped, but I do like having it.
Dipped in jalapeno juice.
Ooh,
But you have to ask for it. So they will literally get the chicken breast and they'll dip the whole thing in a big can of jalapeno juice. Game changer. But you got to ask for it dipped. And then I would say a close second. I mean, like street tacos. I get, especially like with Raphael, you get a lot of street tacos with the little diced up meat, the little bitty tortillas,
that's good.
and you eat like two or three. Those are fantastic. I love that stuff.
So then let's go. Last one is barbecue.
I mean, brisket is lean brisket is probably my favorite thing to have, and because I've tried to smoke it myself and make it myself, and I'm not great at it, so I really appreciate people who do it well. Gosh, I mean, like a least favorite thing. Boy, that's tough. Boy, I don't know if I could think of anything that's my least favorite. I mean, I really do like brisket and sausage, and the sides and all that stuff. So, yeah,
No least favorite. It's all usually pretty good.
I'm sure I'm going to think of something as soon as as soon as we get done here. But least favorite barbecue. I mean, because I like ribs. I guess if I had to pick something on a plate, like if you put like a bunch of meats on a plate, I'd probably say like the chicken. I'd probably not. Not that I don't like it, but it would be like my least favorite of everything else that's on the plate.
All right, and to end it all, go to Whataburger meal.
Oh yeah. Number one, no tomatoes. What a sized with a diet Dr Pepper.
Wow, that sounds pretty good. Just thinking about it. All right, well, thank you for
No
coming
ketchup
on.
though. I'm not a ketchup guy.
No
So
ketchup.
I know that's a controversial take. I know.
Wow.
My wife is probably looking at me right now because I don't do that. I don't do ketchup.
Was there ever a time when you did ketchup and it just
There
wasn't there
was.
anymore?
There was no. I There was a time I did ketchup, and there was also a time when I used to have mayonnaise on my hamburgers. But many years ago, when I was in high school, I ordered a burger and it was accidentally made with mustard instead of mayonnaise, and I ate it, and it changed everything. And so since then, never had mayonnaise.
So you would say that it's not that you don't like ketchup or mayonnaise. It's just there's other options that you feel like are just better.
Yeah. I would do the mustard. I would do the mustard. Yeah,
Wow.
for sure.
All right, I can understand that. All right, well,
Yeah.
thank you. I know it took a long time for us to finally make it happen, but I really appreciate you coming on.
Better late than never. Thank you for what you do, and I'm flattered at the invitation to be here with you. All the best to you and your viewers, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right, there you go. I do.